Somewhere right now, you are sanitizing a plastic baby bottle with the intensity of a surgeon preparing for open heart surgery, checking the room temperature on an app, and worrying that a light breeze will ruin your child's future. You are tracking sleep cycles down to the microsecond, convinced that if they nap for 40 minutes instead of 45, their future college prospects are ruined. You are literally treating a toddler's nap like a high-stakes corporate merger. That's insane, but millions of modern parents do it every single day. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This is a satirical look at our evolutionary psychology, which is distinct from medical advice. Take your kid to a doctor, not a cave. But the fact remains, your ancestors did not child-proof their caves because only the attentive kids survived. They raised kids who played near campfires and slept in the dirt without a single diaper change app or a pediatrician on speed dial. The kids did not have time for an existential crisis because they were too busy not getting eaten by saber-toothed cats. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. The modern world expects you to raise a child in complete isolation, locked in a suburban box, slowly going insane from sleep deprivation. You feel the weight of the world on your shoulders because society tells you that you must be a perfect, self-sufficient unit, managing a career, a clean kitchen, and a happy child with zero outside help. But your ancestors never parented alone. Anthropologists studying traditional hunter-gatherers, like the Hadza in Tanzania or the Efe in Congo, discovered that childcare was a collective team sport called alloparenting. Imagine a crying baby. Before the second cry, a grandmother picks them up, then an older cousin, then an aunt, then another child. That baby spends the day moving through 15 different pairs of arms. Meanwhile, today, one exhausted adult is trying to do the job of an entire tribe. You were never built to do this alone. Your ancestral brain expects a tribe of aunts, uncles, and older cousins to take the load off your back. Which leads to an even stranger problem with how you live today. You buy rubber corner guards for your tables and look at a speck of household dust like a biological weapon. You buy organic, non-toxic baby wipes that cost more than your first car, trying to create a sterile bubble. Meanwhile, a Paleolithic toddler spent their day crawling through mammoth soot, chewing on old bones, and playing with sharp obsidian flakes. This wasn't neglect, it was an immunization boot camp. Pull your child away from the microbes we spent thousands of generations living alongside, and their immune system gets bored. Without real pathogens to fight, it turns on your body, causing allergies and asthma. Your child's body is trying to fight an imaginary war because you didn't let them lick the floor mat at the grocery store. A bored immune system is like a SWAT team assigned to guard an empty parking lot. They get bored and start pepper spraying the potted plants just to feel something. You are paying premium prices to give your kid's immune system an existential crisis before they can even speak. But that's nothing compared to what you do when they try to sleep. You spend a small fortune on high-tech strollers, ergonomic swings, and wooden cribs, only for your baby to scream the moment they touch the mattress. You sit outside the door, holding your breath, trying to override a million years of instinct because some parenting book told you to let them cry it out. Ready for the weird part? You buy strollers to replace carrying. Then you pay $60 for a white noise machine that pretends to be a thunderstorm to make them sleep. You literally use electricity to recreate cave sounds. Prehistoric parents did not expect their young to sleep alone in a quiet, dark room. A crying baby in the wild is a homing beacon for hyenas. They had slings made of animal hide, wearing their babies like vital cargo. A Paleolithic infant spent almost every second pressed against warm human skin, listening to their mother's heartbeat, which dramatically lowers stress. You buy gadgets to keep your baby at arm's length, and then you wonder why they scream the moment you put them down. Your modern nursery is a quiet, lonely space that your baby's evolutionary biology registers as a predator's buffet. And the molecular cost of that isolation goes deeper than you think. Scientists made a strange discovery. Children who received less physical contact actually showed changes in their DNA development. Not emotionally, biologically. In 2017, researchers analyzed the DNA of infants and found that a lack of physical touch left molecular changes on a child's genome. Touch is more than comfort. It is a physical nutrient. When you put a baby in a plastic swing to sleep alone, you aren't just letting them cry. A lack of physical touch can deprive their developing systems of the stimulation they evolved to expect. And the same goes for your diet. Analysis of prehistoric infant teeth reveals that Paleolithic babies nursed on demand for up to 4 years, receiving a continuous shield of maternal antibodies. Modern formula isn't evil, but it attempts to replace a 300,000-year-old biological security system with processed powder. Notice the pattern here? You take a natural biological process, force it into an artificial environment, and when the body rebels, you call it a disorder. Then you buy a product to cure the very problem you created. None of these inventions are evil. They simply try to solve problems your ancestors never had. You buy strollers because you stopped carrying babies. Then you buy white noise machines because babies hate the quiet strollers. And finally, you hire sleep consultants to teach your baby how to ignore their survival instincts. It is a multi-billion-dollar loop. You are not a bad parent. You are just trapped in a design that expects you to be a self-sufficient machine in a sterile world. But the software running inside your child's brain only cares about survival. And that software isn't just about food and sleep. For 300,000 years, children learned everything they needed to survive by doing absolutely nothing that looked like school. They played freely without adult supervision for 12 hours a day. They made mini spears, tracked bugs, and simulated hunts. Play wasn't a distraction from education. It was the education. Flash forward to today, and you pay for sensory classes, buy flashcards, and sign your 4-year-old up for Mandarin lessons because you are terrified they will fall behind in the race to college. You are basically training a toddler for a corporate consulting interview before they can properly wipe their own nose. You replaced free play with structured anxiety, and then you wonder why your child can't focus. If you do not let them play with sticks, they will find other ways to release that energy, like dismantling your television or testing the structural integrity of your drywall. But the real friction starts when they grow a little older. Remember that anxiety-free cave child who survived the saber-toothed cats? Well, they never had to go through a teenage rebellion. You spend your evenings arguing with your teenager about screen time and messy rooms, accepting this friction as a natural biological milestone. But the concept of a teenager is a modern luxury. In hunter-gatherer societies, you were a child, and then you passed through a rite of passage, an initiation, and you were immediately a member of the tribe with adult responsibilities. There was no decade-long identity crisis because there was no gap between physical maturity and social utility. We extended childhood into the 20s and created a recipe for rebellion that your ancestors never had to write. They did not have the luxury of sulking in a room because everyone had to contribute to the next meal. Which brings us to the part nobody expects. Now comes the part nobody expects. You worry about screen time, social anxiety, and whether your child will make friends. Yet you keep them isolated in a sterile room or locked in a playpen, interacting with exactly 2 adults. In the Paleolithic, Your child would have lived in a continuous, buzzing social network of 30 to 40 people of all ages. They were never alone, and they were never supervised. They learned how to navigate conflicts, share food, and read facial expressions, not from a school curriculum, but by simply existing within a living tribe. You try to protect your child from every minor physical stress, but you have isolated them from the very community they need to develop their minds, leaving you to carry the entire weight. We have surrounded ourselves with a level of parenting pressure that is biologically unnatural. You do not need to do it alone, and you do not need to buy every smart gadget to cure your guilt. Sometimes you can serve your baby best by trusting the software running inside their body and let them eat a little dirt. Your cave ancestor didn't have a sleep schedule app. Their babies survived anyway. Every parent today thinks they are raising a child. For 300,000 years, your ancestors were raising the next survivor. Somewhere along the way, survival became optimization. Maybe you call that progress. Or maybe we have mistaken comfort for safety. Your ancestors probably would have laughed at your parenting. Then they would have picked up your baby before you even asked. What do you think?